Hey guys, what's up? This is Panzer Dragon, and today we'll be talking about the 5.18 notes and doing a little rundown of the changes. Let's get started. Braum, Q, mana reverted. Okay, still gonna be a strong champion. Honestly, I don't know where he came from. Like, the buffs he received in patch 5.12 were pretty minor, and all of a sudden he was being picked everywhere. And so he was fine before. It was just that people didn't really pick him at the time. And now people are picking him because he's good, and people didn't realize it before. Next up is going to be Caitlyn, and right here her W cooldown plus the mana is going down. This is actually a pretty big buff in my opinion, and may make her come back into the meta, and maybe, shit on that Vayne who's pretty powerful at the moment. Because this skill being 30 mana means she can spam it like a lot. Before she had to conserve her mana, but now she can set up stuff. Especially in the mid game, this is going to help a lot for sieges, and it's just going to give her team and herself more positional advantage. But she might need something more to come back in the game. Like maybe revert the attack speed nerf that happened a long time ago or something like that. Next is going to be Darius. So right here, they're nerfing his Q. As you can see, missing health is going to 12% instead of 15%. But the maximum amount of healing you can gain is now increased to 36%. And also, the cost of his Q is going up at later ranks. So basically what Darius had was no mana cost because his mana costs are so low. I guess except for his E. But he could always start Doran's Blade or Doran's Shield. Didn't need to go Flask because, no mana needed. And the missing health does hurt a bit. But I mean, it's still pretty high from 10% what it was before. And for the maximum percent heal being increased, I'm not sure if you're actually going to hit 3 champions with your Q on the blade. I feel like that shouldn't happen, and you should only usually hit 1 or 2 champions. But if it does, damn, you're going to get lots of healing coming back. But yeah, this is just a little nerf, so I don't think it's going to hurt him too much. He's probably still going to be one of the bans in, solo queue. So yeah, still a good champion, at least in my opinion. Next up is going to be Elise, and right here, her base damage on her spiderlings are going down at level 6, 11, and 16. So since it kind of hurts her more at level 11 and 16, she's still going to probably be one of the top tier junglers. As the early game didn't get hit, she still has that 1.6 second stun on her E, and as long as she can keep maxing out W second, she's always going to be a really good jungler. Yeah, this nerf hurts her mid game and late game, but who cares about that? The game is oriented around the early game for at least Elise. But, the damage will go down a bit. Her spiderlings do hurt when she's in that form. And, with her base damages being nerfed on her Q, and now this, maybe M-Pen isn't the best way to go. I mean, competitive junglers are building Cinder Hulk on her and just going pure tank. Next up is going to be Ezreal, and now he's getting an AD ratio on his E. At this point, I'm not sure why don't they just add an AD ratio to his W, because now basically everything except that scales with AD. And, if he actually did have AD scaling on his W, that'd be pretty cool. But honestly, I don't think this buff helps too much. I think people are building Triforce Blade Rune King on Ezreal. And even if they did build AD, this is an escape ability, not like a damage dealing ability. So yeah, buying a BF sword will only give you 25 extra damage on the E. It helps him, but it won't make him be meta. There's way better AD carries at the moment. Next up is going to be Fiora. Dun, 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 dun. Lots of changes here, but mostly just base stats. So it's going to hurt her, definitely. It's just going to make her laning phase a little bit weaker. But I think she's still going to be good. I mean, when you nerf base health and you have some innate sustain, it doesn't really matter because you have a lot more health when you have innate sustain coming from, well, in this case, Fiora's vitals. So the health nerf doesn't hurt, but the base armor kind of does. In fact, I feel like that kind of hurts a bit because that's like 3 armor runes. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But I mean, she's pretty OP at the moment. Next up is going to be Gangplank. So it's only 20 base damage nerf, it's not a lot. 10% less armor pen, ooh, that kind of hurts, at least on tanks. For squishies, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, let's talk about the bonus damage. So this hurts in the laning phase because this is one of his critical tools for zoning the enemy. And it doesn't really matter in the mid game and late game because you already have Triforce and Infinity Edge bumping this damage up on the barrels. But in the laning phase where he doesn't have complete items, yeah, it does hurt. But he's probably still going to be a top tier pick. Next up is going to be Jarvan. Oh, interesting, right? You giving me 2 armor back. I still won't play this champion. There's better champions to play like Tahm Kench. Well, actually, honestly, I know competitive is going to pick him up, but not me. I feel like they gutted this champion too much by removing a lot of things he had. Next up is Lulu. Support Lulu gets a buff. Solo Lane gets a nerf. I think she's complete shit as support, but Solo Lane, that's where her key strengths are. Although it's only 8 hit point less per level, so it's like not a big deal. She's probably still going to be played. Some people are going to play her more in the support, but I'm sure Spell Thief stacks aren't her biggest worries. More like having actual presence or not dying to enemies on the all-in. This also doesn't work when you shield your AD carry and he shoots the picks, so that's kind of weird to me. At least that's what I'm getting at. Maybe it does work, who knows, but it does say Lulu's basic attack. Next up, oh no! I know! All these nerfs are coming to my Mordekaiser. Why? What the fuck? Holy fuck, let's calm down here. Let's actually look at what's happening here. Do take note that I'm a Mordekaiser main, so a lot of information that I'm going to tell you is straight out my asshole, and it's going to be reliable. So armor is going down. Okay, that kind of sucks. I think I'm going to need to take an armor quint. Maybe start buying Doran's Shield instead of a Ruby Health Crystal. That's my build, by the way. And now, basically, as Mordekaiser, you can buy anything as your starting item and, not fail. That's just how OP he was. But now, you gotta think about it for a second. That armor growth stat increase means nothing. And now let's look at the W, which is his main skill of just shitting on people. And let's see what happened here. So you can now self-cast when you're alone. This is nice for, I don't know, jungle Mordekaiser. The only thing this does when you cast it on yourself is you can now do the activation damage, not the, aura spinning stuff. So it's very weak in the solo lane in my opinion. But for solo pushing a lane like after the early game, it definitely helps a lot because you can push the way faster. And it also gives you some nice healing. But yeah, it's nothing too special. You need the two people to be close to each other since you want that first part of the damage to be useful. Also, the damage no longer doubles when they overlap, so this definitely hurts us all in. And I'm not entirely sure how powerful he's going to be after this nerf kicks in, and I also think he's still going to max out this skill. The creeping death AP ratio does go up, but it's only 0.3, and in my opinion it's not a big deal. The base damage is still high. Like, I don't build AP in the early game, I build it more later game, so I guess I'll maybe notice it there, but the deactivation damage does go up, so that's kind of nice. And the healing against minions going down to 25%, that's fine because I usually hold my W up for the trading. If I'm going to heal, I'm probably going to use a pod instead. I don't want to use my W to push the wave into the tower, or unless I'm going back, whatever. But this healing nerf doesn't matter. It's not a lot if you ever done it before. But the maximum units drain, going down to 2 targets, that does hurt. Especially now that this costs health, it kind of sucks. But again, the only time you're going to be using this skill is when you're going to trade onto the enemy. So you won't be using a lot of health. Final opinion, I don't think he's going to be OP anymore. The only reason I think he's going to be in the top 5 AD carries is because people are maxing out E still and still having success, so that's fine. His Q damage is still really strong, and yeah, he might still be number 1, who the fuck knows though. I'll just have to see if the removal of the double damage does hurt or not. Next up, Morgana's mana costs go down. Cool. I don't really have mana issues with her, but this only affects her at level 5, 7, and 9 because that's where she has lowered mana costs. So next up is going to be Skarner, and right here he was like scaling too quickly on his passive, and I guess they nerfed his early game more. But this slow nerf, 15% less, is actually, I feel like, a big deal. So it might make Skarner more kiteable, and I can see this nerf kind of hurting him a bit. Like, in my opinion, he's a top tier jungler. But right now, I think he may be lowered to like maybe number 5 or something. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Next up, Syndra gets some more mana at later levels. No one plays her. Well, some people do, but let's move on. Next up is Twitch, and he's actually receiving a pretty annoying buff if you're trying to gank him. As you can see here, the stealth delay while taking damage is now being decreased to 4.5 seconds. Previously, it used to be 3 seconds, but now it's just in between that and the nerf. Like with this buff, he might come back, like I saw Apollo playing him in one of my games, but the nerf to his base attack damage, the nerf to his passive, those are the nerfs that kind of gutted him, so yeah. But if this buff actually affects him, it looks like I'm going to have to bring a Pinkwade every time I gank bot now. Next up is Veigar, and now he gets AP when he gets assists on champions. And the delay of his dark matter is decreased by 0.25 seconds. So yay, you can land your W more better when you land that E. I actually think he's in a fine position at the moment. It's just going to take someone to play him again and be super annoying with him. And I hope the return of the box doesn't happen because it's very annoying to play against Veigar. Next up, Zyra's plants are getting an AI buff, and yes, you'll see a Jungle Zyra live commentary from me soon. Next up, Devour is getting nerfed. 10 less damage on Sated Devour. This isn't a big deal, it's still going to be a good item. I know it's really dominant in lower elos, and it doesn't really affect Master and Challenge at all, but for the average player, it's a little bit less obnoxious. But it's still going to be obnoxious, I think. Next up is going to be the Warrior enchantment, and now we have the return of the Warrior meta, maybe? It's only a small buff. I feel like it wasn't necessary because Warrior junglers are actually in a good place at the moment, and I think they're a bit weaker than Cinderhawk junglers, but with this buff, I think they're on par with each other. Next up is going to be the Zeke's Harbinger. Charge duration is going down to 5 seconds, so this is when you're holding onto the charge with 100 stacks, and this means there's going to be a smaller time window in which you can activate to kill everyone. It doesn't affect the team fighting ability of this item and still lasts for 8 seconds. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.